All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about a piece of tech that could seriously change how we own, well, just about everything. It's called tokenization, and it has the potential to unlock trillions, and I mean trillions of dollars of value that's currently trapped in the physical world around us. So let's get into it. But first, let me just ask you this. What if you could own a tiny little piece of a skyscraper in Nairobi? Or what if you could own a percentage of the future royalties from your favorite musician's next big hit? Or even just a single share in a local coffee farm down the road? Now, this isn't some sci-fi fantasy. It's the actual promise of the technology we're going to break down today. To get why this is such a game changer, you have to look at this number. $326 trillion. That is the estimated value of just the global real estate market. It's an amount of money that's almost impossible to wrap your head around, and for most people on this planet, you and me included, it's completely, totally out of reach. And that gets us to the heart of the problem, what we're calling the world's locked value. The key word here is illiquidity. You see, trillions of dollars are locked up in things like buildings, private companies, or that Picasso painting we all wish we owned. They're super hard to divide up, they're a pain to trade, and you need a mountain of cash to even get in the game. It effectively locks almost all of us out. So, how do we pick that lock? Well, the answer is this digital key. A really simple but powerful idea called tokenization. It's a technology built specifically to take the world's most illiquid stuff and make it liquid, turning it into something that pretty much anyone can access, trade, and own a piece of. So what is it exactly? Well, at its core, tokenization is just the process of turning the ownership rights to a real-world asset, could be a building, could be a business, could be a song, into a digital token that exists on a blockchain. That little token becomes your verifiable proof of ownership. And I love this metaphor. Think of a token like a digital Tupperware container. You can put almost any asset inside it and boom, suddenly that asset becomes programmable, super easy to trade, and anyone can verify who owns it. It's just a brilliant way to picture what's really going on here. But, this isn't just some digital magic trick. It's a really carefully built system. You've got what they call the tokenization stack, and it has 5 absolutely crucial layers. First, the legal layer that makes sure your token actually represents a real, legally binding claim. Then, the custody layer secures the physical asset. The issuance layer creates the tokens with all the rules built in. The trading layer, well, that's where you buy and sell them. And finally, the compliance layer bakes all the regulations right into the token itself. Every layer has to be there for it to work. Okay, so once you have that secure foundation, that 5-layer stack, this is where things get really wild, because you can apply this to basically any asset class you can think of. The possibilities are just about endless. So, for example, you could take a $10 million office building and just slice it into 10 million $1 tokens. And then every single person holding a token gets their tiny slice of the rental income, and it's all paid out automatically. No middlemen, no fuss. Or think about private companies. Startup stock is famously illiquid. With tokenization, early employees could sell a small part of their shares on a secondary market to get some cash, long before the company ever goes public. And it's not just for physical things. An artist could tokenize the future royalties from their music, selling those tokens to their fans today to get the cash they need to, actually record their next album. Even fine art, which has always been a playground for the super rich, could be opened up. A masterpiece by Picasso could be co-owned by 1,000 different people, with each person holding a token that represents their little sliver of that masterpiece. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, this sounds cool, but it's probably just a niche idea, think again. The big dogs are already here. Financial giants like BlackRock have already launched tokenized funds. Their fund for U.S. Treasury bills, built on this exact tech, has already blown past $500 million. That's some serious institutional validation right there. Now, let's pull this down from the clouds and look at a powerful, real-world case study. How could tokenization actually bridge the gap between entire continents and the capital they need to grow? We're going to look specifically at the incredible opportunity across Africa. The whole idea here is just so compelling. You got this perfect storm of factors. Africa has enormous pools of illiquid assets, everything from real estate to agriculture. It has a global diaspora sending over $100 billion home every year, people who are desperate for good ways to invest back home. You've got a young, tech-savvy, mobile-first population, and you've got local capital markets that are still developing, leaving this huge void that needs to be filled. And this chart just lays it all out, plain as day. Look at the demand. You have the diaspora with over $100 billion a year, a $3.4 trillion real estate market, a $330 billion financing cap for small businesses that are screaming for capital. And then you have trillions in global impact money looking for transparent places to invest. The demand is just absolutely massive, and it's coming from every angle. So the opportunity is crystal clear. But building this kind of bridge, it requires exactly the right technology. You can't just wing it. And that's why this case study zooms in on one specific blockchain, Cardano, because its architecture has some unique advantages for this very specific challenge. Okay, this gets a little bit technical, but hang with me for a second because it's really important. Most platforms use a model where all the complex rules live in these things called smart contracts, which can sometimes be complex and vulnerable. Cardano's approach is different. It lets you build the compliance rules directly into the token itself. Now, that might sound like a small change, but it's a huge deal for security, especially when you're talking about high-value assets. And that's just one piece of it. Cardano also has lower fees, which is absolutely critical if you want small-scale investors to participate. It has a built-in identity solution that's perfect for handling compliance, and they already have strong institutional relationships on the continent. You add all that up, and it creates this powerful strategic advantage for this kind of project. So how does this big vision actually happen? Well, you don't try to boil the ocean. You start small, and you start smart. In year one, you prove the model works by tokenizing just one real estate project in Nairobi working inside Kenya's regulatory sandbox. In year two, once you've proven it, you expand to new things like Kenyan coffee and new countries like Nigeria. And by year three, the goal is to become the fundamental infrastructure, the actual rails that an entire new economy of tokenized African assets can be built on. At the end of the day, this technology isn't just about trading stuff online. It could fundamentally rewire how value is created and who gets to participate. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. If an entire region's economy can be unlocked this way, what comes next? What other markets, what other assets, and what other communities out there are just waiting for the right digital key?